Hi everyone, I'm Deanne from Newfoundland, Canada. Welcome to my Flosstube Stitching on the Rock. We are at episode 82. It is Sunday, the 29th of September. Oh my goodness, not starting over. Welcome if you're new. I had a uptake in subscribers. I think I'm about 825, which is awesome. And I know several of the ladies that I chatted with last weekend subscribed. So thank you. I'm glad you're here. For those of you who have been around for a while, I'm back. It's been 3 weeks since my last video. Normally I would have done it last weekend, but I was at the Harvest Moon Hangout that Lindy Stitches hosts. And I'll chat a little bit about that in a minute. And I didn't want to wait till next week because then that would be a month and that's a long time. So here I am off schedule again. What else is new? What's been going on with life? Aaron and I both went to the eye doctor. He has 20/20 perfect vision, can read the bottom line of the letters. I have crappy vision. I could barely get down the third line. I have astigmatism in both eyes, I think, and I'm monitored by an ophthalmologist because I have high pressures and glaucoma is a thing in my dad's family. My dad had it. Last time I had tests and that with them, they could see the start of a cataract. So yeah, crappy vision. I talked to him. I even took stitching and I talked to him about progressives because a lot of my friends that stitch have them, and I showed him where I hold my stitching to stitch and he said, no, they won't work for you. You need to hold it out here, and who can stitch out there? Then I talked to him about getting a prescription for reading glasses, and he said, with the way I stitch now, he said, you're just well off taking your glasses off to stitch, which I do a lot. The problem is that I'm here watching TV, so if I take my glasses off, I can't really see the TV. So I usually have my glasses on, stitch looking over them, and then glance up to look at the TV. Yeah, fun stuff. So he said it wasn't worth the money so I bought a regular pair of glasses, and I got a prescription pair of sunglasses because the pair I have are about 5 prescriptions old. So yeah, all good. What else has been going on in life? We're still trying to figure out what to do with Aaron. My son, for those of you who are new and didn't hear, that he has autism, and he graduated high school in June on the regular course load, so the option of going back isn't there for him. Like if you couldn't stay till you're 21 if you're not on the regular, but he is, and so, but he's smart enough for college, but doesn't have the social skills for college, and we had a couple of things in mind to get him into to allow him to develop that. He didn't get into either one of them because they had like 4 times the number of spots they had. He did go for a day at one program. It's kind of an employment program with a group here that helps people with special needs. He went one day. They kind of say, well, he struggled to stay on task, but we'll have him back. And they haven't called to have him, because it's a call-in thing. They haven't called in 3 weeks to have him back, so we're struggling. Okay, enough of that. I don't normally dress like this if you do, but it's the last day of the regular season, and the Blue Jays are tied for first place in their division. If they win, they get first place. If the Yankees, who they're tied with, win, they still get first place because they have the tiebreaker. If the Yankees lose and they win, they get first place. If the Yankees lose and they lose, they get first place. The only way they don't get first place is if you let the Yankees win and they lose. So, good vibes. And that's all I'll talk about that, because I could go on with that forever. And I know you're here to see my stitching. So I'm going to say, if you're new here, about 3 times. I think if you're new here and don't know, I turned 55 this year. I decided to start 55 projects this year. I know, nuts. I think I'm on start 42, so I'm doing pretty good. I usually divide my videos into WIPs that I've moved forward from last year, and then go through everything from this year, whether it's a WIP, a finish, or an FFO. I just do it in the order in which I started them because that helps my brain. Also, before we get going, I had my local stitching group yesterday. There was 6 of us. 6 seems to be our magic number. And it was a great time, and we stitched and chatted for, well, I left at 1 to 4, so I was there for 3 hours. It's 3.5 hours, I think. We have the room at the library. Yeah, and I really enjoyed it, and it's great. And I'll talk about might as well talk about the Harvest Moon Hangout. I have no script for today, as you can tell. Last weekend was the Harvest Moon Hangout, which was the 4th or 5th virtual retreat that Lindy Stitch has put on this year. I've gone to every one of them, and I've had a blast every time. I didn't buy anything this time. None of the PDFs, and I could only buy the PDFs because the shipping is crazy for me. Plus, Canada Post went on strike this week again. Yay! None of the PDFs really said buy me, except for one, which I already have. So didn't see the point of buying it again. But yeah, there were some cute things, but Halloween, and even though I stitch it, it's not something I buy a lot of. But I did have lots of fun hanging out at the International Stitchers Lounge. That's where I did go into the Night Owls, I think, one morning, a Saturday morning, because when I got on, there was nobody in the international room. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Met ladies from Germany, Sweden, the Netherlands, Wales, England, the US, and fellow Canadians. And the more of these you do, the more the faces become familiar, and you get to know the names before you even, start chatting. And I have made some friends and some subscribers. And so, yeah, I highly recommend. The Jingle Ball is the first weekend in December. I think tickets go on sale mid-October. The Jingle Ball is the most popular one, so you may have to get your ticket a little bit earlier for that one than the rest of them. And I think that's everything. So, now on to the stitching. The only WIP that I worked on that was pre-2025 was River's Edge by Kevin Daniel for Heaven and Earth Design. This is a piece I'm working on for my son. Oh, sorry, I dropped something. Oh, it fell right off. Since you saw it on my last video, I've put in 750 stitches. I am at 40.31%. I'm not going to take it out of the Q-Snap because I'm going to work on it later today while the ball game is on. Oh my God, my words today. While the ball game is on, I'm going to stitch on this. But I did post up a full picture on my Instagram, which is always down below if you want to see what the full stitching that I have done is. It's stitched 1/1 on Lichen Grey, and but didn't. I'm putting up a picture of what it's supposed to look like here because I don't know where the cover sheet is. So here is what I've been working on, which is this section here. I've just been picking a color and filling it in. And oh my goodness, I said to someone, I posted it up on the Heaven and Earth Design Facebook group, and I said to someone who mentioned they had it on their list of ones to start, that it's not for a stitcher like me, because I like to do cross country on my WIPs. I just like pick a color and stitch out, but so much confetti in this part and in the bottom part. Like this part, of course, has where the snow is, has a lot of the same color, but you can get 2 stitches here and 1 stitch there and 3 stitches up here and 1 here and 2 over here and 3 up there. It's just, you don't want to see the back. You don't want to see the back because I'm not cutting in thread. If I can stretch it out, I will. Nobody sees the back of any of them, but this one especially is very messy. But Aaron will be happy when it's done, and my goal is to get it done framed for his birthday in July. And I'm doing I think I worked it out that I needed to do about 173 stitches to have it finished by July. I've been trying to get 200 stitches into it every day, just so I can have it done, like May-ish, if I'm lucky, to get it framed before his birthday. So that is that one. Next up is my very ignored Rainbow oh my goodness, Rainbow Temperature Supernova by Climbing Goat Designs. I picked this because I was doing the 55 starts this year, so it was kind of like a big deal, so I wanted to do this. Plus, Aaron graduated high school this year, so I thought it was a good year to pick to do a temperature chart. It will probably be my one and only temperature chart. I've enjoyed watching it grow. I have not really enjoyed stitching on it. It's a very confusing pattern, and I've tried to explain it to people, and they look at me like I'm with dazed eyes when I try to explain how you stitch it. I am up to the 12th of August, and I'm determined that this week I'm catching up with it. I have until the next couple of days. On the 1st, there's a new challenge on Whip Warriors that I'm taking part in, so we're going to try and get at least up to mid-September by the end of this week. We'll see how it goes. So here is where it is. I have stitched up to the 12th of August. So here's where we are. The black. So I have up to the 12th of August done. And I'm like rainbow is exactly what it is. And I have loved stitching every color in. Except, like I said, except for right here, there are 3 lows that are all the same color. Like, that's the most of one color that I have stitched since I started that. But yeah, we're getting around the circle. So next we have my first finish of this video. It is Anne of Green Gables by Maya Stitch on Etsy. This is the piece this year that, if any of them made me want to give up stitching, this would have been it. I started it on the fabric the wrong way, so I started stitching like here. Discovered when I had the hat all done, or almost all done, that I wasn't going to have enough room, and it was supposed to go this way. So I had to frog all of that because this was the piece of fabric I wanted stitched on. It's Vintage Country Mocha. This is the modeled side. It's also the back of the piece. So that was the second thing so I actually stitched it on the plain side. I think I stitched both of these braids twice because I screwed up where they were supposed to go. Because I got ahead of myself and started trying to stitch the braid before I had the hat finished. There's a whole lot of backstitch. If you can see, like, her braids are like completely backstitched. I actually changed the color. The bottom part of the hat and right up at the top, we're supposed to be stitched in 3865, I think, which is like almost an off-white, and I thought that was too light, so I changed it to the darkest color in the hat, which I think it might have been 3829 maybe. But it is done. I have an idea of how to FFO it. I just haven't gotten a chance to, but I'm going to try to get it FFO'd in the next few days before the start of October, or at least within the first week of October, so I can have it out for a little while this year. That was my finish number 1 for, and all my finishes were done during the retreat last weekend. Next up is the North American House Hippo piece that I'm doing. For those of you who don't know who the North American House Hippo is, it comes from a PSA ad that ran on TV in Canada, and you can just go into YouTube and find it. I posted it last week in the weekend in the chat on the group because I was in the international group, so there was people there that didn't know. So I am stitching this. I I can tell you the temperature is 2/2. Anne of Green Gables is 2/2. This is 2/2 32 count Peppermint Knob by Bryn and Nettle, and I am stitching it with, oh, where is my floss? Oh, that's the floss I'm stitching it with here. Didn't get mislaid. Anyway, it's a Bryn and Nettle as well, and it's called Old Harry. And I have put in 200 stitches since you saw it last, and I'm at 41.39%. And here is where I am. And I'm loving how the variegation in the thread is looking like the hippo skin. It is so cute. So, getting there, I'm working on his body. He's a big one. So that's that piece. I might come across the thread here somewhere on my table. I know it was here. Next up is my second finish of the year, and I feel like I'm just zooming through. This is Happy Halloween by Primrose Cottage, 2/2 on 28 count taupe, and using the copper threads. And I have started FFOing it, so it is on a board. I have a couple of pieces of fabric that I'm going to put behind it on boards, and I have a wooden piece from the dollar store that I'm going to put it on, and I should have that done this week as well. So this one was a really cute one to stitch. I think if you can see that there may be a little bit more fabric down at the bottom than at the top, and I planned that. I wanted it to be a little bit longer down at the bottom. So there is that one. And then my third finish. These all, oh, there's the thread under this one. There's the thread that I'm stitching. Oh, sorry, it's a bit of a mess. Stitching the hippo with. It's called Old Harry, and it's like variegated gray. I finished all of these 3 last weekend at the virtual retreat, but I got to finish them because I took part in September in a September Smalls challenge on Whip Warriors. So this is Good Things by Lizzie Kate, and good things come to those who those who stitch. I did stitch 2/2 on an unknown green linen using the fancy floss that it called for, and it was fun to stitch as well. So there is that one. That one I think I'm turning into a flat fold. I haven't looked to see if I have any fabric that will work, and the same thing, I haven't looked to see if I have any fabric for the Anne of Green Gables one. The Anne of Green Gables I'm going to put on an easel I have from the dollar store. Every fall they have these little easels with fall sayings, so that's what I'm planning to do with that. And then next up we have Starlight Snowflake by It's So Emma, and this was another small I was working on, but I didn't come close to getting this one finished. So I'm doing the blue colorway here. DMC's 3841, 3325, 334, and 517. And I'm just stitching it 1/1 on a white even weave. I started trying to do it 2/2, and I didn't like the way it looked. It just looked too big and not pretty. So I did change it to 1/1. So this is where we are. I think last video I said this was the center one. This is the center of the snowflake. So I got the top edge almost completed, and I have my bag with my DMC, and I just pull one out and stitch a length of it, and so I'm getting through it. Next we have the one pattern that I would have bought from the retreat last weekend in a PDF. I have the paper copy of it. And it's Lumis Fiber Arts Enchanted Quaker. I got this last summer when we were in Toronto. I went to Kita's, and I had this piece of fabric in my stash, and I'll just show you the fabric first. It was the lighter parts that you see were yellow, and even though I love sunflowers, I don't like the color yellow. So I took it and I bought a bottle of Kelly Green Rit dye, and I dunked it in for a couple of minutes, and it came out like this, which I love. And I didn't know what to stitch on it. I thought Christmas or Halloween. Most people said Halloween. It looked more for spooky. And so I took it with me to Kita's, and I said I want to do a monochromatic piece on it, and they helped me track down and Enchanted Quaker. This is where I am, except I've discovered that I have a mistake, so I have to actually frog, I think, about half of that outer edge. I think this line here needs to be one more over that one, which you don't discover until you're halfway through doing the center of it, and something that's not working out, and you have to figure out where your mistake is. And I'm stitching it with another Brin & Nettle thread. It's this one, which is called Dark Tickle Light. Because it calls for black coffee, but it called for 8 skeins of black coffee, and that's a little out of my budget. So I knew that Brin & Nettles were a lot more thread on. This is 10 yards. And then once I started stitching, I decided to do 1/1, so I'm actually going to probably end up with at least a full skein. Unless I keep making mistakes and having to frog, and then I may not end up with any leftover, but we will see. So that's what I'm doing. Then I think that was the last one you had seen a start on. I'm pretty sure. Maybe. Oh, yeah. I think when I did my last video, I said next up was Snow Days by Heart and Hand. Well, I stitched and finished and fully finished Snow Days because it was only a little tiny thing. So I turned it into the drum. So here's where we are. Here's the start. There's the end. My first attempt at a drum. It turned out okay. Not perfect, but not terrible. I followed Helen D's tutorial, but I got a little ahead of myself because I had finished the flamingo stand up. So I said, oh, I know how to add the bottom. So I attached the bottom first. And then as I'm watching through the video, she actually attaches the top first and turns it and stuffs it that way and puts the bottom on last, which is probably why mine is a little on the squishy side. Like, it's not quite full enough, because I think if I had been trying to attach the bottom, it would have been easier to stuff more into it, because this is flat dad and this is not. But I learned my lesson for the next one. But, you know, I don't think it turned out too bad, and for sitting on my tray or my shelf, it will be perfectly fine. It's my only FFO I have. Then, since my last video, I have started 2 things. First up, and I'm going to put a picture of what it's supposed to look like, is the Quick Stitch Max Color Anna Green Gables, which is part of Amy Stewart's Heroes and Heroines shelf. Yeah, I think that's right. The only thing is that I'm also doing the Pride and Prejudice part of this shelf, which I didn't show today because I haven't worked on it. That is a Quick Stitch color expansion. This is a Quick Stitch Max Color. I don't know if there's a difference between the two. I've never actually heard of color expansion except for that one piece, so I don't know if they called that. I don't know how they got 2 different names. But anyway, I got 600 stitches of the treat-in, which is not a whole lot. And I'm just, oh, it goes this way, I think it's this way. So it's a 600 stitches of 906. I'm going to try with this one to do the color completion. There's a lot of green in this chart, which hopefully means there's a lot of chunks of color and not a whole lot of confetti. I know there's 120 stitches, so there is 120 colors, so there are going to be some confetti stitches, but I think starting off with the top colors, or, you know, the ones in the top corner, there shouldn't be a whole lot. So that is where it is. It's 1/1 on 20 count, 8 count ivory. And last but not least, on Wednesday, I started, I did start 42. Oh, and I'm up to, with the 3 finishes for this video, 18 finishes. Sorry. I started Bloom by Stitching with the Housewife. And believe it or not, with all my preview videos, because of my issue with the dyeing of the fabric for It's snow time. This never ever got shown on a preview video because I showed it's snow time. I attempted to dye the fabric for it, turned it green, so everything got moved forward a week until I could get the fabric and dye it and find a place to fit that back in. So Bloom never ever got previewed, but I started it on Wednesday and I haven't gotten far. I've just been working on the cup. And I was working on it yesterday and I was in the middle of a stitch and my needle went flying and stupid. I blame it on my age. I thought it was the needle that was on Enchanted Quaker, which is a pony black needle. Wherever I put that a friend gave me. This needle that's half black, half white, which has become my favorite needle, and it's the only one I have. And I'm desperate not to lose it anywhere. I thought it was that one, and I had all the girls down looking on the floor. And one of the girls found a broken needle. It's like, oh, that's weird. When I took my stuff out today, my needle was on. So that must have been the broken needle must have been the one I was working on, using to work on this, but it wasn't my needle. Oh, I felt so bad that I had the girls down looking on the carpet everywhere for my needle. That was actually on my project. Anyway, here's where I am. So I'm just working on the mug, but it won't take long to get that one finished. And out of all the, I got 5 of these mugs, I think. 1, 2, 3, 4 or 5. I've stitched one twice. I've stitched another one. They've all been given away as gifts. This is finally one that I'm stitching for myself. So it'll be a nice piece to put out in the summer. And that is, and I'm stitching it with the call for Classic Colorworks, which are pull them apart. Queen Bee, 12 grain, Blushing Blushing Beauty, Black Coffee, 4-leaf clover, Ladybug, and River Rocks. So that is that one. And those are all the WIPs that I have been working on since I saw you last. Next up, because it's my last video of September, I'm going to show you my starts for October and what I'm stitching them on and what I'm stitching them with. Well, most of them I think I'm stitching them with the DMC. One of them might be half DMC, half Fancy Floss. So first up is Classic Christmas by Hands On Designs. One of the purchases I made at the last Jingle Ball. And I am stitching it just on a 28 count ivory. I'm going to use, I think it's called for DMC. So very simple for that one. Next up is the Christmas Berry by Hands On Design. Not Hands On Design. Erica Michaels. I'm stitching the big one. It calls for the Gentle Arts Simple Wool, which I will not be using. So I have the colors. I'm going to try and convert them to DMC close as I can. And it is being stitched on 32 count. The tan with the white polka dots, and there's going to be lots of that left over for another project, which I'm excited about. Next up, we have 2 in October that are not seasonally. If you didn't know how I figured out my 55 projects, a couple minute story. I went through my stash I had, wrote down all the names of patterns that I wanted to stitch, just haven't got around to starting. Went to Etsy and bought a few things, got a few things when we were at Kita's last summer. A friend sent me a couple of things that I squeezed in here and there. I had 2 or 3 spaces that I was missing, and they were just written down in the order that I found them, the order when I bought them, when I received them. They weren't done seasonally. I numbered them all. cut up pieces of paper with 55 numbers in them, put them in a little jar, and I started with getting my son to pull out 4 or 5 weeks, whatever they were, in January, February, and March, and then I wrote those down in a book that I have here, this one, that I bought off Amazon. And then I started going through my stash of threads and fabric and whatever I had that matched up, and then I bought things here and there. And once I had the first 3 months, and this started in like September or October of last year, once I had the first 3 months kitted up, then he pulled 2 more months, and I did that all the way through. They were just written down to start in the order that he pulled the numbers, so there was no rhyme or reason to seasons or anything like that. And that's how I ended up with my 55 pieces in the order that they're in, because in October I'm turning Tiny Town Seaside, or Seaside Tiny Town, which of course in October I should be doing Christmas stuff, right? And I'm stitching it with, well, this is the one that I said may end up being partially specialty or fancy floss and partially DMC, because there's 18 colors, 17 colors, and I know that some of those colors are not used very much in this pattern, so I didn't buy the specific fancy floss, but I know, looking at the list here, I have some of them, so we'll see. And who knows, I may decide to order that I want a particular color in fancy floss and just stitch around that color and order it if I get there. Usually house colors are the ones that look nice, the fancy flosses, but we will see. And it is stitched on natural brown undyed linen, which is what I have to stitch it on, and there's lots of that. I don't know if I'll have any left over, we'll see. Then I am doing Cardinal Kin, which once again I have the couple of, it only calls for like three specialty stitches, threads, I think, which I have, and then the rest is DMC, and I am stitching it on a 36 count pearl gray. This is one I bought for a series of charts that I was going to do. I did them for teachers. I didn't do them on 36 count. I think I did them on 28 count. And then I bought the called for 36, and I'm going to do it. They were the Santas by My Fanny Designs. I did one of them. But there will be plenty of fabric left after I do Cardinal Kin on to maybe get my button gear and do a couple more of them, because they are the cutest. There's just a lot of white in them. Then finally, I am doing, once again, an unseasonable piece. Hello Summer by Erin Elizabeth. I did this one last year for the Canada Swaps first swap, and I wanted to do it for myself, so I am doing it on a 28 count taupe. Lots of fun stuff to do in October, and that is all the kind of pattern stitchy. I did get my fabric, I think I showed last time, from 123 Stitch, the piece that I needed to re-dye for It's Snow Time, which will be my November 1st start. So I got it, I dyed it. It matches just what I wanted it to match. Sorry about all the wrinkles in it. But yeah, much better than the green piece I ended up with the first time. So that is that. And then I just got some threads. These are actually for a May start of next year, because for those of you who've been around for a while, May is all about me. So I have 5 new starts for May. So I thought I had better start kitting things up. So I got 4 threads. I got Endive and Wood Trail, these two from Gentle Arts, and I got chili pepper and eggshell. These two from Classic Colorworks. So they will be for a start in May. And that is everything. I think that's all I can think of. I don't know if I will be back next week to try and get back on track, or if it will be another 3 weeks. Probably 3 weeks, because I'll have a lot more to show you. And but look for my preview video on the 1st of October for my November starts. Gosh, like from having like a pile and now I'm down to like this. I can't believe that I've gotten this far in this and stuck to it. It's been so much fun. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.